The 2025 season has finally begun. We have had the Australian Grand Prix. It was after 6 years that the season kicked off down under. Like since the 2000s, Australia has embodied the season opener vibe. So for the past few years, Bahrain hosting the season opener. Not that it was bad, but Australia having that season opener just gives a different vibe. So yeah, now we are heading to China. But that's the problem now that there are several of these tracks on the F1 calendar that do not excite many people. While China is a decent track, but there are several other tracks that do not provide banger racing. There are a lot of overtaking issues on those tracks. And then the calendar also has flaws from a regionalization perspective, logistical perspective. Firstly, there's no race in Africa, so there is a question mark on why we deem F1 a world championship. And then there is, of course, the logistical issue. 24 races is a lot for drivers, for engineers, mechanics, everyone involved. So amid that, when there are tracks that do not provide better racing, there are fewer overtaking opportunities. What I'm going to do in this video is put together an ideal F1 calendar that can cover all these bases, a regionalized schedule that is logistically viable, starting in the east and ending in the west, so we can have sustainable scheduling with ample breaks between races in countries that are far apart, and then also include some of the fan favorite racetracks that have featured on the calendar previously but have been dropped off for some or the other reason, be it financial reasons, be it a lack of interest towards the sport in the country, instead of the boring ones that are existing on the calendar. For example, Abu Dhabi. Spoiler alert, the fan favorite tracks will include South Africa because, yes, if you have to have a true world championship, there needs to be a race in Africa, and South Africa perfectly fits the bill. I'll come to that later, but let's begin with the Australian Grand Prix and the Asian races that will follow subsequently. Australia will naturally be the first race of the calendar. Albert Park, it's a really good circuit. And with the changes that took place before the 2022 race, the corners were widened, the chicane was removed in that back straight. It just smoothened up the circuit, and there are now better overtaking opportunities as well. 4 DRS zones now. So it has seen some decent overtaking action since then in the past 3 races. Plus, the excitement of being a season opening race really amplifies the Australian Grand Prix. It just elevates to another level. So, the Australasia leg will, of course, kick off in Australia. And then the second race is actually a fan favorite track right away, Sepang in Malaysia. Oh, many people love Sepang. It's the best circuit built by Herman Tilke. It's just perfect on all fronts. The kind of corners and straights it has, it seems balanced in all perspectives. Like that track can provide banger racing. The snaily opening corner section, then you have some hard braking zones, some long straights and medium speed corners, which can catch anybody out. So if you nail Sepang, you are a very skilled driver. It used to be on the F1 calendar in this early slot itself, but there was low interest towards F1 in Malaysia. That's the reason F1 had to drop the track off the calendar. But yeah, obviously, I'm ignoring these country specific track specific factors to bring back these fan favorite tracks. Because, yeah, this is an ideal schedule, so bear with me for that. And I have replaced China with Malaysia because Sepang is the original version of that Shanghai circuit. Shanghai is just an extreme Sepang. It's quite similar. The snaily corners in the opening section, the braking zones are harder, the straights are longer. So I would say that Sepang could be a better choice instead of Shanghai and is the perfect one. It could happen on a 1 week interval after Australia. And then guess what? We've got another cool street circuit right next to Malaysia. Singapore, why not? Now some people don't like Marina Bay in Singapore. It's a very difficult track to pass. But yes, Singapore is a good race for its challenge. The most physically challenging race on the calendar. There should be one or two races like that. So Malaysia, Singapore, this can be a double header. And then after Singapore, the F1 circus can come to India. As my home country, that has a really good F1 track, which is still Grade 1 rated by the FIA. I would love to see F1 back in India. The both the international circuit had dropped off due to commercial differences and taxation issues. But things have changed a lot over the past decade. MotoGP has been racing recently at both. It is a versatile track. Just that if they can upgrade the infrastructure around the track a bit, make it an attractive event to come to, it would be a spectacular one. And F1, this is the time to bring back the Indian Grand Prix with the popularity soaring in the country. And then finally, to cap off the Australasia leg, Japan is another race which can come in the first leg of the season. It's obviously one of my favorite circuits, Suzuka. No chance I'm dropping this. And it's already shifted to this early slot in the calendar. So nothing changes on that. Now, the Middle East. There are many tracks in the Middle East that have come on the F1 calendar in recent years. Not all of them are good, quite obvious. Abu Dhabi being the prime example. Jeddah as well, it's decent, but I would rather not have it. What I feel is F1 can have the three best tracks from the Middle East as a triple header in April and May. Bahrain is already a surety on that. It's an excellent circuit, beautiful overtaking potential. This year it's already happening from April 11th to 13th. In this ideal calendar, it happens from 25 to 27. And then we can move to Azerbaijan, another awesome street circuit. And to cap it off, the Turkish Grand Prix. Oh yes, Istanbul it is. This was a no-brainer to get Istanbul back on the calendar. The two races that we have seen in 2020 and 2021 in Istanbul Park, they were mind-blowing. Don't really understand why F1 doesn't have Turkey as a regular event on the schedule. But yeah, this would be perfect. Bahrain, Azerbaijan, Turkey. There won't be any issues with Ramadan for Bahrain. It is already happening after Ramadan ends. Jeddah is obviously not an issue because we have dropped that. And then you have two popular tracks in Baku and Istanbul. It would be a superb triple header in the Middle East. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will include Kyalami for the South African GP in the schedule. There have been rumors of Kyalami returning to the F1 calendar. God knows when that may happen. But for this ideal calendar, let's say Kyalami is an F1 track. This would be a good race, a flyaway after the 1 week break post the Middle Eastern triple header. It's another good track, used to host the season opener back in the day. So it would add a nice flavor to add an African F1 race. I hope it is South Africa because there have also been rumors about Rwanda putting forth the bid. I feel South Africa could be more in tune with the F1 history. They have had that historical connection with Kyalami hosting races in the past. A fresh circuit in Rwanda, I don't know how it would work. Like, yes, sure, it would have a good reception, but South Africa seems much more connected to F1, I would say. And then another 1 week break before the Canadian GP. This will always remain a staple. Just cannot drop off ever. The kind of racing action we experience in Montreal, oh my, it is eternally awesome. Absolute top drawer. So Canada should be there. Last year, the kind of racing we had in the wet, the upside potential of Montreal is just unparalleled. Now, you would have also noticed I haven't included Miami. Straightforward, not a fan of that track, even though it becomes a good flyaway and people love it. It just adds another American race. So, we will stick to the classics for this one. Now, I was in a dilemma about the Monaco GP. Earlier, I did not include it because the race in Monaco does get boring. No matter how good the qualifying is, it's just not worth it. So, the initial schedule I had included only 20 races, but then I thought let's add Monaco because it just adds that zest to the calendar. God knows if the two-stop mandate this year will work or not. Will it help the race become more exciting? We'll see, only time will tell. But yeah, Monaco is too historic to drop off the F1 calendar. It is part of the Triple Crown of motorsport, besides the Indy 500 and Le Mans. It deserves to be a part of the World Championship. Hopefully, they make the cars smaller to make the race more alive. But yeah, never mind, Monaco is still part of this ideal calendar. And after Monaco, here's another shocker. We should have a race in Portugal instead of Spain. People like Portimao quite well. The two races that we had in 2020 and 2021, they were really good. The overtaking potential of Portimao is much better than Barcelona. Even though they have removed that final sector chicane in Barcelona, I feel Portimao could be a much better racetrack. And the Madrid track doesn't seem as good from the layout. Sure, we haven't seen any racing there, and it could be good. But like that's the reason. For now, I would like to include Portugal instead of Spain because we don't know how good Madrid is going to be. A year or two down the line, I would surely rethink upon this. But after Portugal, the evergreen Silverstone becomes a stopover. Right in the middle of July in British summer, no doubts about that. Not much to say as well, so we'll rush this up because the next one is another fan favorite track. We are back in Deutschland for the German Grand Prix. Hockenheim is one track that dropped off due to financial constraints. I hope they can bring it back someday because a race in Germany is much needed. They have Mercedes on the grid. Audi will join in 2026. So Hockenheim could be ideal for those two teams as their home race. Even with the updated layout in the 2000s, we have seen some really cool races in Hockenheim. So yeah, and after Germany there will be a summer break as per the scheduling I did with the dates. Yes, I've gone into that much detail. I've changed the dates to accommodate some of these Asian races, but the season can still end a bit early because I've dropped many races like Abu Dhabi and Qatar. So per the 2025 calendar itself, we can have Australia on March 2nd, preponing it couple of weeks than it has happened, and then carry with this schedule with 1 week breaks and double header and triple headers in Asia and the Middle East till Germany happening in the last week of July just before the summer break. Now, of course, one difference in this calendar would be that Austria will come in the second half of the calendar. It will basically be the season resuming race after the summer break. Reason being that we have included several of these races in Asia and the Middle East early on. Turkey, Singapore, Baku. Usually Singapore, Baku happens in the second half of the year. So just a rejigging of that calendar. I did that to streamline it regionally so that these Asian races happen in the early half of the calendar, which means that races like Austria and Hungary will move to the second half because then we don't have many races in the second half of the year. Regardless, not a big deal. It's a good track in Austria that provides top class racing any time of the year. It will still be summer there in late August. Even Hungary can follow it right away. So the cool thing is that Austria Hungary can be a double header. Close countries, perfect for the late August double header in Central Europe. Hungary is obviously a classic track. I really like it. Some people feel it's difficult to overtake, and sure, that's true. But I feel Hungary has great potential to provide banger racing and overall challenge everybody. There is a lot of excitement on the strategy part. There's always a two-stop race over there. Rain can make it even more spicier. So yeah, Hungary, Budapest, it comes after Austria. And then we can have Belgium, which anyways used to be in the second half. So basically, that race would have resumed the season after the break. And nothing that goes against Spa. It's sad though that they are considering to rotate it as it's not doing financially well. In my imaginary ideal schedule though, Spa is a permanent fixture. So Austria, Hungary, Belgium. Now I'm not putting Zandvoort as a double header race to Spa because even though it's in September, there are not many races I'm keeping after the Dutch Grand Prix. The season may end quite early that way. A week break between those two races. Monza can come maybe right after Zandvoort because then we'll be having almost a month long break before the next race. And that's been fun lately to have the Italian Grand Prix right after the Dutch Grand Prix. But if you have noticed that it is towards the end of the calendar now, the Italian Grand Prix is actually the fourth last race in this calendar, happening on October 5th. So imagine having these cool classic racetracks that can provide chaotic races towards the business end of the season. So Australia done, Asia done, Middle East done, Europe done. The only region that remains is the Americas. From the Americas, obviously, I said earlier that Miami isn't a track I like much. That should be a popular sentiment. Even Mexico, for that matter, not a great one. Except Sergio Perez's popularity, the track layout, and the racing, there's not much going for Mexico to have it on this calendar. I would rather not have the Mexican GP. Now that even Checo is off the grid, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I've tried to cut out these tracks from the calendar, and they retained only three tracks from the Americas to conclude this ideal F1 calendar. Firstly, Austin. It will host the USGP after a 2 week break post Monza. Kota is a modern classic that always stays, no two ways about it. The US Grand Prix in late October, it's a perfect fixture. After this, though, I was a bit skeptical on having Las Vegas or not. Yes, it's more glamour and all, but you don't want to have a track for the glamour. Fortunately, the track and the racing has been top notch in Vegas for the past 2 years. Both races so far were unpredictable and they were just lovely to watch. So, cool night race in the chilly weather of Vegas as the penultimate round of the championship. I don't mind. Adds the zest like Monaco. So, yeah, the 21 race calendar has become 22 now. Sorry, there are too many good tracks to keep out. But yeah, the good thing about this calendar is we don't have the boring tracks like Abu Dhabi, Miami, and Spain. And then obviously, you need to have the season finale at a track like Interlagos in Brazil. I don't understand why F1 can't do this. Sure, Abu Dhabi pays a heap of money to be the season finale, but Interlagos, Brazil, the kind of racing it provides every year, it just makes sense to end the season over there. And we've seen that previously. We have seen some epic season finales in Brazil. So yeah, in this ideal schedule, I have been tracks like Abu Dhabi and Qatar to have the finale in Brazil. Perfect. The third week of November, hosting that finale in Sao Paulo. So even the season won't go into December. Everyone gets more rest. So it ties off well with the logistically viable aspect. Not too many races as well. Yes, 22, it's still high. But if we can regionalize them in this manner, I think it would make a lot more sense from a travel perspective, from a sustainability perspective. This will be an ideal F1 calendar according to me. Covers all the continents, has the best tracks all over the world that provides top driver racing, and it is regionalized so it can be logistically feasible as well. Starting in Australia in the first week of March, then going to Malaysia and Singapore for a double header. This will be followed by the classic Asian tracks of India and Japan, which is again a double header. Then you have the Middle Eastern triple header of Bahrain, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. Oh, that is a streak of races no one would want to miss. Only the best tracks from the Middle East. No Abu Dhabi, no Jeddah, and South Africa, Kyalami is a must have stopover, followed by Canada later. Then come your European classics, which will again see the return of some fan favorite tracks in Portugal and Germany. Finally, transcending to the Americas with just three races at good tracks like Austin, Vegas, and Sao Paulo. So, there you have it, an ideal F1 schedule that covers all the bases.